and be use reason to be apt to the context you find yourself in. The tension between these is obviously developed, and of course, I'm not saying that you should just live a virtuous life and never, or getting drunk or anything like that. I mean, those things are to be avoided if they're the norms. Sorry, getting drunk and having fights with people is obviously something to be avoided if it's the norm and whole reason for being in your life. But it's like also the Christian thing about abstinence of sexual relations between men and women is obviously absurd, because if men and women were completely abstinence in their sexual relations, there would be no humanity. You know, so that is an absurd idea to put into being virtuous. You know, the Epicureans believe that you should have as many partners of the opposite sex as possible, and the Stoics perhaps believe that you should be a bit more moderate in that. Maybe only take in the context of a Roman way of life, to take one wife and be faithful to her. So perhaps that's a more rational way of doing it. So you're investing more of your life in raising a family in that context. You know, it depends on your temperament. But there's another digression. You know, everybody likes to have fun, and I commend you if you are having fun in life, but it also has to have reason and virtue behind it. You know, the reason for it. We you know, I mean, you go clubbing and things like that. You're accumulating currency or money as a signal to give yourself a good life. So when you go clubbing and you meet people, they're going to have a social connection with you, yeah. Or if it's in sport or something, you've developed enough knowledge about life to engage in conversations. You know, looking smart or going and getting drunk or something is not necessarily the end of it in life. It's just a method of people use to express themselves without inhibition sometimes. Right, so I've talked about sort of human ideas about money, which might be right or wrong. I mean, what I've said here might be right or wrong. It needs to be tested, and I've given you some models which are empirically tested, which seem to make the human conception of money and the real natural conception of money more in harmony with each other, and hopefully driving one day to be in harmony with each other, so there's not so many contradictions. You know, war and things like that are failures of economic and political policy, but they are also the symptom of an underlying disagreement sometimes between people who have both virtue or an economic model that works, and on the other hand, people who are, you know, for all intents and purposes, evil vermin. But neo-feudalists who want to subject everyone to their will for their own sadistic pleasure because they have no empathy. You know, there is obviously biological mutations that are not beneficial, as well as mutations in genetics which are beneficial. And because most people are social and have higher reasoning powers, as I'll explain in a minute, then there seems to be a correlation between that, rather than predatory behaviour. Herbivores were predators on plants, and meaty carnivores were predators on on herbivores. And of course, as I said in my series on the Imperium of plants, sea of grass, and the evolution of from T-Rex to us, and the meme of the wolf and the meme of the dog and everything else that was in there, which you should have a look at. There's came a fault line between animals which were predatory and parasitic, where everything was where evolution was atomistic and everything was trying to kill each other off. That led to a high degree of extinction, whereas when you get to a situation in evolution where confederations are built, social confederations, either between predators or herbivores, or between plants and animals of different being that they're in different groups and different species for common survival, then obviously the amount of energy and resources injected into the overall system is increasing, and that's why it's probably apt to evolution of higher animals and higher plants. So let's go back to the text that I've written. Natural context of money as an evolutionary context of money as a naturally evolved meme in genetic and energy trading and competitive systems, as genetic and energy trading and competitive systems. Plants and animals, particularly since genetic material was traded via RNA, which is slightly more stable than DNA, and then DNA, which creates more mutations because it's slightly more unstable. Either competed or both competed and traded within societies. The profound systematic change. A leap forward was flowering plants trading energy via nectar to co-opt or make a symbiosis with animals to pass on genetic information via pollen. The carrier of genetic information. Pollen is usually the sperm of male plants to female plants, although some plants are of both sexes. They're hermaphrodites. They of course carry two things. One is the genetic material, and the other is basically like what grows into the seed. It's like the yolk in an egg to service the growth of that, which of course developed into flowers and fruit. Flowers giving nectar and fruit giving a payoff to, say, a primate like us to convey that seed some distance to colonise new areas, and the payoff being the energy received from the ripe fruit, which gave off a signal of smell, texture and colour, as I explained in my other video series. So via pollen, the carrier of genetic information carried on animals' bodies to other flowers. This was both a bribe to stop predation by animals on plants and a trade. The energy injection from the nectar equals a natural form of convergence, with nectar serving for animal societies as currency, commodity money, and the task of transferring genetic material. The investment that all living beings make to pass on that information. So living beings, most in harmony with the context of nature, are making rational decisions apt to the conditions for survival by their free will.